The New York Knicks came into the 2016 season with some decently high expectations. Well, at least for the Knicks, as at this point, the Knicks making the playoffs is a high expectation. And right now, they aren't doing that. The Knicks are currently 19-25, and they sit as the 11th seed in the East. And they are 2-8 in their last 10 games. The Knicks are really falling from a super team, as Derrick Rose would call it, to a lottery team. And a lot of this can be attributed to the performance of Carmelo Anthony this season. It seems like when the Knicks made these moves in the offseason, they were trying to win with Melo this season, when really they should be trying to win with Porzingis. To make it short and sweet, I'll just say that the Knicks need to trade Carmelo Anthony. And we will start with why the Knicks need to trade Melo. The number one reason the Knicks need to trade Carmelo Anthony is Kristaps Porzingis. When Porzingis was drafted, well, actually scratch that. After Knicks fans stopped booing Porzingis and he broke out as a star and a future top-tier player, a lot of people thought he could develop into Melo's sidekick. Towards the end of the season, it seemed he could pass Melo, and this season he has definitely passed Melo. So Porzingis is now the top dog of the New York Knicks, and he is the face of their franchise. And because of that, we will get to reason number 2. The Knicks need to build around Porzingis, and it's really just simply that Porzingis is at the start of his career, and Melo is at the end of his. And at this point, Melo is a solid second or third option on a contending team. And now for reason number 3, the Knicks need to go into a rebuild. Well, at least a semi-rebuild anyways. Trade Melo for a young player or a pick, or both. Tank this season, get a top 5 pick, draft a young point guard like Markelle Fultz from Washington, or Lonzo Ball from UCLA. Let Derrick Rose leave in free agency, and hopefully buy out Joakim Noah, and then maybe sign a few free agents, and the Knicks could be a real contender within 3 seasons. And for number 4, we have to look away from the future and look at where the Knicks are at currently. They are the 11th seed with a 19-26 record, and Melo this season is averaging 22.5 points and 6 rebounds on 43% field goal shooting and 37% from 3. First of all, 43% from the field is really not good, but we have to look past the stats here to see how Melo really hurts the Knicks. A common play the Knicks have run for years is Melo post-up and face-up isolations, which really have no place in modern-day NBA offense. And it especially has no place in an offense that has Kristaps Porzingis. When this play happens, everybody just stands around and the offense is dead. The offense is being ran by Melo when it should be being run by Porzingis. Now we have to get over to the possible Melo trade scenarios. And as a disclaimer, I just want to say I'm aware that Carmelo has a no trade clause, but I feel that if Melo really felt like he was being pushed out of town and that the team he was being moved to could be a contender, he would waive his no trade clause. So we will actually talk about the teams Melo said he wanted to be traded to first, the Clippers and the Cavaliers. Spoiler alert, neither of these trades are going to happen. Let's start with the Clippers. They aren't giving up Blake Griffin, nor should they. And they definitely won't give up Chris Paul or DeAndre 3000. So who would the Knicks get back? JJ Redick? No, too old, and he's on a 1-year contract. Luc Richard-Mbah-a-Moute? He's a good 3-and-D player, but not worth Melo without a lottery pick attached to that, and that's another thing the Clippers don't have. So the Knicks will get virtually nothing in return for this trade. So the Clippers aren't getting Melo. Now as for the Cavs, they could offer Kay Felder and Iman Shumpert, but again, I feel like this would only be worth it if there was a lottery pick attached. But again, there won't be. The Knicks get very little in return for both of these trades. Now for the realistic trade scenarios, my 3 teams that I think could trade for Melo, provided he is willing to waive his no-trade clause, are the Chicago Bulls, Boston Celtics, and Memphis Grizzlies. I'll start with the most far-fetched one, the Memphis Grizzlies. The idea is Chandler Parsons and either Troy Daniels or JaMychal Green along with a pick for the Knicks. They get a scoring wing back in Chandler Parsons, and they get a power forward who could fit perfectly next to Porzingis, provided you move Porzingis to the 5. And the Knicks get a mid-20 pick, and considering how deep this draft is, you could pick a decent player like Devontae Graham out of Kansas or Isaiah Hartenstein from Germany. For the Grizz, they finally get a decent scoring punch besides for a Mike Conley, Marc Gasol pick and roll, and they could become a surprise team in the West. But I just don't see this happening. It isn't actually a bad trade, but I think there is a better option available, and we will get to that. Next is the Chicago Bulls, and now I'm a Bulls fan, so I hope this doesn't happen. Personally, I don't really like Melo, if you couldn't tell already. But here's a possible trade. Nikola Mirotic, Doug McDermott, Denzel Valentine, and a Kings top 10 protected pick for Carmelo Anthony, and Willie Hermana-Gomez. For the Knicks, they get a great shooter and possibly great scorer in Doug McDermott, depending on how his postgame evolves, and a possible star with Denzel Valentine, and Nikola Mirotic, who is on my most hated players list, towards the top, and a Kings pick, which is projected to go number 11 right now. For the Bulls, they get some more scoring besides for Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade, and I actually think Willie Hermana-Gomez could be a decent player if he develops properly. But I do not want a 32-year-old ISO player on the team. We already have a 35-year-old ISO player, so that's enough for me. And finally, the Boston Celtics. This is the trade that I see happening. Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart, and a Brooklyn pick to the Knicks for Carmelo Anthony. For the sake of this scenario, we will say the Celtics trade Jaylen Brown. The Knicks get an athletic small forward with solid fundamentals who could be a scorer in the future, and the Nets pick, which will be a top 5 pick where they could draft a point guard like Fultz or Ball. For the Celtics, this is a win-now move. Melo could be a second option behind Isaiah Thomas, and with a team of defenders and shooters surrounding these guys, they could give the Cavs a run for their money. This move feels like a win-win for both teams. The Knicks get a foundation for their future with Jaylen Brown and a point guard in the 2017 draft, and the Celtics get a chance to at least make the conference finals. I think provided Melo is willing to waive his no-trade clause, he could likely move to the Boston Celtics. But if the Knicks really get desperate, I suppose he could be moved to the Clippers or Cavs. That's the end of this video. Be sure to like and subscribe as well as hit the bell. Check out my MyGM series, and I'm out.